Welcome back to the Football Terrace. I hope you're all well. It's an international break, and that means one thing. Many debates over the next 2 weeks on the Football Terrace. Young Player of the Year is first tonight. We'll be touching on Player of the... I actually made a list today, all the different shows we're going to do. We're going to be doing Young Player of the Year. That's first and foremost. What else we got on this list? Where's my list gone? I've actually lost my list. Where's my list at, Tel? Young Player of the Year. We're going to be doing Player of the Year, of course. We're going to be touching on the 12 best Premier League teams ever. We're going to be going for signing of the season. We're going to be reviewing the greatest ever Premier League's greatest ever Champions League team from the Premier League. We're going to be doing a debate and tiering system on that. We're also going to be reviewing a few other little perlers as well in that time. If there's any other things you'd like us to tier and rank, let us know. Here are tonight's options. There's 16 players that are going to go into this debate. And there's a variety of categories: trash baller, overrated season, good season, class season, top class season, and star baller. All the top 16, 24-year-olds and under in terms of performances this season are in the mix. You will, of course, have your say as well. You can get your super chats in. You can get a book going. You can move people up and down as and when you want. You know the rules are. You don't have to wait to the end. You can get your super chats in straight away. So you can back your individuals. Got a really good panel tonight on the show. Man like Davies with me. Prime is here as well. I don't know where Prime's camera has gone. He's disappeared. He must be off somewhere. He did have a big light bulb above his head, so maybe he's moving his room around to get himself. Terrace says, Terry, where's Foden? Phil Foden should be there. Phil, I don't know where Phil Foden's gone, but he should be on that list because he's in. There he is. There's Phil Foden. He is there. I was like, where's Phil Foden gone? He's on the list, but he's in City's black kit. That's why maybe you didn't notice him, but he is there. How you doing, bro? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, happy with how Chelsea's going, obviously. So,
yeah no, I hear you 110%. So we're going to jump straight into this, and we're going to start. Everybody's going to get a pick. Same rules as ever. You pick someone, you place them where they want, a bit of a reason as to why. We all get a trump card at the end to move one player anywhere on the park that we want to. The viewers can move players at any time by super chat, and they can move them up, down, wherever they want to, up and down a category. We know the rules. It's 5. It's 20 anywhere you want. 50 for a new tier. We have to respect those original rules that were set by people. So that can happen at any moment in this. So we're going to jump straight into it. I'm going to go to David first and give you the first pick in this. Who are you picking? Where are you putting them?
I want to go with someone who I thought would break into their team, but I don't think he's as good as everyone says they are. And that person is Smith Rowe. I think Smith Rowe has had an overrated season. Don't think he's awful. But my thing with Smith Rowe is that I thought they'd break in the team because they need an attacking midfielder. But he's not as good as they all think he is. I said it's the same thing with all young players. Their first 5 or 10 games, they'll look great. But afterwards, they start tailing off, and he's tailed off, and Arteta knew and brought in Odegaard to sort of basically replace him already. I'm not his biggest fan personally. I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm sure Arsenal fans will not be happy about that. So, yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting first pick. Gooners, you know what to do. In terms of some people have really raved about his season this year. In one of the websites I was on today, he's ranked as the 6th best young performer in the Premier League this season after 12 league appearances. But Prime, I'm coming to you next. Who's your pick? Who are you going for? Where are you putting them?
Harvey Barnes, Leicester City. I've been looking at his numbers actually for the past few months, and he's been brilliant this season. Someone who doesn't get spoken about that much which makes sense. You've got Maddison and likes of Grealish, Mount, and Sterling who can play in those attacking areas. But I think Harvey Barnes has been very underrated. And if we're talking about the likes of Saka and Nick Neal, Barnes, I think he should be in that conversation as well.
So how would you rate his season? Class season, good season, top class? Or the star?
I would just say it's been a class season.
I think what's interesting, I think saying Smith Rowe is overrated, I think it's too much, is my opinion. But if people think Smith Rowe's had a good season, Harvey Barnes, for me, has been twice as good this season as Smith Rowe. So wherever you put Harvey, Emil Smith Rowe, I'm relaxed with, but Harvey Barnes has got to be 2 in front of him. I think he's been phenomenal. Yeah. For me, I'm going to go for my first pick, and I'm going to go with Marcus Rashford. And I think it's an interesting one. Overall season for Marcus Rashford, I think I'd put him in between class and top class. Premier League wise for Marcus Rashford, I just think he's been good. So I'm going to put Marcus Rashford into good season there because we're isolating this purely to their Premier League performances. I wouldn't say it's been. I think Harvey Barnes has had a better Premier League season than Marcus Rashford, so I've got to be fair in relation to that. David, your next pick, bro.
I want to go with the guy that I touted earlier on in the season to have a good season. He has. I want to go with Pedro Neto. I think he's had a class season. Considering Wolves, obviously, right now, they really don't have a striker. I mean, Fabio Silva and Willian Jose, they're literally just placeholders. They're not doing very well. Pedro Neto I can't remember what the stat was, but I think he's like been involved in over 50% or 40% of their goals. That's ridiculous for a young player. I don't see him being at Wolves for much longer than one more season if he doesn't go this summer. It's been absolutely fantastic. His dribbling is so good. And he's got this instinct of just finishing whenever he gets in the box. So for me, class season. I think he's been fantastic.
Well, he's linked with a £50 million move to Manchester United. And another one, I know the Ollie outers are going to hate this, but it turns out it's a deal that 5 years ago, again, Ed Woodward said no to. Another one where Ed Woodward was like, no, we do not need him. And now look what he's doing. He may end up costing the club £50 million. Prime, who's your next pick?
This guy I've been talking about since the start of the season, Declan Jell-off Rice. I think he's been one of the best midfielders in the Premier League this season. Can I see the rating list again, please? I'd put him in top class season.
Really, that good?
Yeah. I don't think there's. How many other midfielders can you say is better than him?
Well, I mean, it's your opinion. I mean, I think he's very, very good. I don't think there's any doubt about it whatsoever. Very, very good midfielder. There's no doubt about it. He's had an excellent season, touted with a big move to Chelsea that could now be somewhere else because of what's going on. I'm going to do my pick. Before I do that, make sure you smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the share button as well. I sometimes feel like Declan Rice gets forgotten about. Like, I don't even look at him as a young player. I think people forget that he's still only 22 years of age. I think, which is interesting, but he's just, yeah, he could play. I actually think Declan Rice could play for any team in the Premier League. Any team, he could go in there and he could play football. I really, really do. My next pick, it's going to be a tough one. I'm going to throw this in here and it might cause some controversy, but I'm going to go with Calvert-Lewin and I'm going to put Calvert-Lewin into overrated season. And I'll tell you why. I know he scored quite a few goals. I think it's 14 goals he scored in 25 appearances. And I might be guessing when I say this, so what I'm going to do is actually go and check this. But I swear he had the majority of them goals in like the opening 10, 12 games, something like that. Like the guy literally had a brilliant, it feels to me, and if I get this wrong, I'm going to change my rating live on the air. Right now I'm basing this on a feeling and not on a fact. But I swear he scored the majority of his goals at like the beginning of the season. And since then, it's been pretty average. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So he scored 4 goals. He's literally scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in 5 games. You know, it's just, I think it's been a good year is what I'm saying here, right? I think he's had a good season, scored quite a few goals. But people were talking about him pushing Harry Kane out of the starting lineup for England. People were talking about him being like an up-and-coming world-class striker. And I just thought, he's 24 now. I just don't know. I just feel like he was just, do you get where I'm coming from at all? Or am I chatting shit here? I just feel like people talking about him like he was like about to move into the Harry Kane, Haaland class, if that makes sense.
I mean, I've said he's no better than Tammy Abraham, and I still stick by it. I don't think he really is. I think his thing is I can score the ball with my head. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, you are right about the Calvert-Lewin thing, but he is better than Tammy. I think the thing with Calvert-Lewin is he has particular strengths, which is the fact that he's good in the air and he's physical. But but at least he uses that to his advantage. Whereas with Tammy, I don't think there's anything in particular we can say as a strength.
What we've got to get right here is I feel like I think he's had a good season, but I put him in overhyped because people went too far with it, is essentially what I was saying. He had a really good start to the campaign where I think he scored for club and country. He scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He scored 10 goals in the opening 8 games of the season for club and country. And it was like, wow, we've got a new superstar. And I just felt like they needed to slow down. You know, since that 10 goals in that opening few games, he scored against Liverpool in a game, then scored against Newcastle. Like he was doing all right up until like November. December, absolutely invisible. And he scored 4 goals in the whole of 2021. And we know how many games there've been. Like the games are it's 2 a week almost. And he's only scored 4. So for me, I'd say he's had a good season by normal standards, but I'm putting him in overrated because people were, as soon as you start mentioning Calvert-Lewin and Harry Kane's name near each other, you're cruising for a bruising as far as I'm concerned. David, who's your next pick, bro?
Ooh, get it out of the way. Give me Mason Mount. Mason Mount, for his age, has been a top-class player. And I know that's going to shock people because people think I'm harshing him. But I always say, for his age, he's phenomenal for his age. He's not that player that everyone thinks he is just yet. But when you're talking about the under-25s or under-24s, he's been sensational. He's genuinely been very impressive.
He has been, and Mason Mount was going to be one of my pick. Like if I was picking Mason Mount, I'd have put him very, very, very high on the list. He's been excellent. He really, really has been excellent this year again. How about yourself, Prime? Do you feel like Mason Mount has sort of shut a lot of people down this year? How well do you think he's done?
I think he's been good for us this year. Definitely one of our players of the season. I think with people, it's that no one really has a fair assessment or judgment of him. It's either people overpraise and over hype him, and the people who don't think he's that good or to that level, and David, you do this as well sometimes, they don't think he's to that level, so they judge Mason Mount to this world-class level that he's not actually on. He's a good player. He's a good talent. Could he develop into something great one day? Yes, hopefully. But I think people should just relax with him and just let him grow and develop. I hear shouts about him being captain next season permanently and stuff like bullshit. That, sorry for swearing. If Mason Mount becomes captain of this football club next season, if anyone who wants that, you're destroying him as a player because that's not going to make it any easier for him. Just let him play and develop.
Yeah, I think maybe the only thing I would say is, would you trust Thomas? If Tuchel picked him to be your captain, would you trust Tuchel?
Oh,
No.
I trust the manager, but Tuchel wouldn't do that.
Well, then it won't happen then, so it doesn't matter, does it? Like,
Yeah, I don't think it will happen. If he did do it, I would have serious questions.
Yeah. Like again, he was captain in our last cup game. That if you want to do that in meaningless cup games where Silva, Aspie, and Jorginho won't play, then whatever, that's fine. But he's not the captain or one of the 3 captains on a permanent basis. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I hear you on that. I think that's fair. Who's your next pick, Prime? Who are you going with?
All right, let's go Bukayo Saka. This season, I think he's only had a good season. No, honestly, it hasn't been anything special, and that might shock Arsenal fans. But for the first half, he wasn't doing anything great for you guys up until that period of when you played us, and then you went on a bit of a good run again, and you started playing well. I don't think Saka was anything special for you guys. So yeah, he's had a good season, and if you guys want to try and come at me for that, like all this,
what is that noise? Is someone hitting a keyboard or something?
No,
I don't know what you're doing there. But of course, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, he's a good talent, and I do like the kid. I like his ability, but this season, I think he's just been good.
Do you know what's interesting about Saka this season? If you look we're looking Premier League only, so what he's done outside the Premier League is not included in this. So Harvey Barnes and him have played 25 games each. Harvey Barnes has almost double the goals. He has a 7% better conversion rate, a 10% better shot accuracy. He has more assists than him. The only thing that Bukayo Saka has more than Harvey Barnes is his passing accuracy is at 81%. But he's only 6% better than Harvey Barnes. And would you lose 6% passing accuracy for Saka to have another 4 more goals, double the amount of assists? I think you would. I think if Harvey Barnes has been put into the class season, I don't think it's unfair for Bukayo Saka to be in the good season. Premier League only, I think is fair to say. Someone here says he's only 19. I get he's only 19, but we are judging all these players as equals, as young players, and how good their seasons have been. But of course, you can get your super chats in, move people around anywhere you want on the screen. Terry, is Lamptey on that list? Lamptey isn't on the list. I didn't feel he played enough games. He's been out injured for large parts of the season. But there we go. My next pick, I'm going to go with, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Kieran Tierney from Arsenal. I'm going to put him in trash baller. I think Kieran Tierney is the most over. I'm actually joking. I'm going to put him in.
I was going to say, I was going to say,
Terry wants war with Arsenal fans.
No, I'm going to put him in top class season. I think Kieran Tierney has been, whether he's played fullback, left back, or one of the centre backs. I think for me, I would put him. I think he's been absolutely sensational. Jimbo here straight away says Mount can't lace Saka's boots. So that's Saka up a tier already. Look at that. Jimbo stepping up there, backing his Arsenal boys. That's how it gets done. If you want to add someone onto the list who's not on the list currently, feel free to. All you've got to do is let us know. If you a few people were saying that Gabriel should be there, a few people were saying that Lamptey should be. I didn't put them into my top sort of 16. I tried to narrow it down, otherwise the list would be endless. But yeah, I put Kieran Tierney in there. I think he's been sensational. Barring Luke Shaw, the best left back in the league this year, no doubt about it whatsoever. Everyone who's tuning in, make sure you're hitting that like button for us, please. Get that done right about now. David, your next pick, bro.
Give me Curtis Jones. Jones. I'm sorry to say, but he's got to go in trash baller on the list. I'm sorry. He's in that Liverpool midfield that everybody knows I don't particularly rate, and I don't think he's been as impressive as everybody's been saying he's been. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist. For me, that's simply just not good enough. It isn't good enough. Like, I understand, Liverpool fans be like, all he does is he wins the ball really well, and I honestly, that's what all your midfielders do. One of them's got to be doing something else. None of them are doing something else, and that's the exact reason why you're looking like one of the worst champions of all time. So even though he is young, and I think he could become a good player in the future, this season I'm putting him in trash baller.
See, I think Curtis Jones has had a really good season. Like, I really do think he's had. I think it was really poor from Jurgen Klopp when he took him out of the first, when he dropped him from the first team for Thiago, when Thiago come back. In terms of creativity wise, you're right. There hasn't been a great deal of it, but I think he has such a good impact on the games that he's played in. But that's your pick. You put him in trash baller. Lots of suggestions for other people that should be on this list. Reece James. Reece James, for me, I don't know if I think he's had you could put him in good season, but the reason we've done this list, this is the 16 level shortlist that I basically comprised. I went through 4 different websites and I wrote down all the names. The reason that I didn't include Godfrey, Reece James, Greenwood, and a few other people that you've mentioned is there wasn't a single website, Hudson-Odoi, there wasn't a single website that was a generic website that mentioned their names. So I decided not to put them on the list. It was a simple, there was no real method to it other than that, really. But yeah, that's it. So I just went with what that said. I suppose the list could be endless because there's lots of players that are under the age of 23, but this is a short list for now. Prime, who's your next pick, bro?
Ooh. Who is there? Fofana.
Where would you put Fofana?
It's funny because Arsenal bought the Mbappe as centre backs, but yet his teammate Fofana is vastly better than him. Again, I'll put him in class season. I think he's been brilliant this season. One of the best centre backs in the league. Yeah, he's
class or
yes.
top.
No, just class season. I'm not going to overgas it. He's still young. He still has a lot to develop and get to, obviously. But he's been brilliant this season.
Yeah, I think he's been excellent. I think he's been excellent for his debut season in the Premier League. I think he's been sensational. He really has. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Someone here says website Terrace. Well, yeah, absolutely. I was reading. Do you know that's how you learn? You watch football. And then you read and listen to what other people have got to say, what experts have got to say, and you develop an opinion based on it, or you develop knowledge based on it, and you go from there. And the fact that there isn't a single top pundit in the country or professional in the country that's put Hudson-Odoi or Wan-Bissaka or Greenwood or Reece James on a list is why I've left them off the list as well. And none of those players I would think of, none of them players even come to mind when I think about Player of the Year. Does that make sense? All these players kind of do. Kevin here says, as a United fan, put Dias into class season. Look at that. Dias was going to be my next pick, and I was going to put Dias.
Yeah, I was going to do that.
I was going to put Dias in. No, I was going to put Dias in top class season. So now we've had the super chat from Kevin. That's going to move him down into class season there for Dias. It says, how's Mount better than Harvey Barnes when Mount has the same stats as Saka with one more assist? Well, bro, I didn't place Mason Mount. I didn't place Harvey Barnes. I didn't place Saka. You're getting three individual people giving their opinions. So you're going to get a bit of mismatch. If you want to rectify, you put the super chat in. If you want me to rectify and move the player, tell me who you want me to move and where, bro. Who you want me to move and where. You've got your opportunity with super chat to give your opinions. So yeah, that's what I'll do. Ruben Dias. I was going to put Ruben Dias in class, but that super chat is the top class. That is moving down into class. David, your next pick, bro.
Who's the player in white? Who's that?
That's Raphinha.
Raphinha. Oh, Raphinha. Put Raphinha in. I'll put him in good season. Put Raphinha in good season. I think that, again, I always say it whenever Leeds play anyone. I'm always like, their games are an anomaly. So him adjusting to the Premier League has been impressive, but his numbers of goals and assists will obviously come when you're the highest pressing team in the Premier League, the team that floods about 8 men forward and creates a numerous amount of chances. So it does it shock me that he's performed? No, but I don't think it's groundbreaking enough for me to say it's been a class season. But I think he's a very talented footballer. I can't wait to see what he does in the Premier League.
Yeah, do you know what's interesting with someone like Raphinha? He's almost like, he kind of reminds me a bit of, if I was to how would I say this in the right way? This season, he's almost been like the eye test merchant's dream. He does it all looks brilliant, even though there may not always be end product. When you compare him again, so I'm going to look at here actually and compare him. So they give me the wrong Raphinha. You know, sometimes you try and do the comparison matrix on the scorecard.
You've got the Raphinha from PSG, the bald one, probably.
Yeah. I've got this guy. I'm trying to put him in. It's not finding him. It's annoying. It's
RAPH, not F.
No, I spelled his name right. It's just not showing up. It literally isn't showing up. I even put his full name on from Wikipedia and it's not showing him up, so I can't look at it. But yeah, I think he's been good this year. I was a bit surprised to see him on the shortlist, to be fair, from what I saw earlier, but I put him in there. Centurions here says, the disrespect to Dias, man single-handedly transformed our defense, put Dias in star baller. He's up there with Bruno as the player of the year. Interesting, though. So for me, he can't go up 2 spaces. He can only go up 1 space with your super chat. So he can go into top class again. Who are you picking next, Prime?
Ooh, who's the 3 left? I can't really see them. Foden.
Phil Foden, Ndombele, and James Justin.
Ndombele, he's had a good season.
Okay, you're going to put him in good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've done that because I was going to pick Phil Foden. and I was going to move Phil Foden. I was going to give, for me, Phil Foden, I think he's been the best young player in the league this year. And I only say that because I didn't realize until today that Dias was 24 and qualified for Young Player of the Year. So in my head the whole time, I just feel that Phil Foden has had such a transformative season. He stepped into the boots of one of the Premier League's greatest ever players in David Silva, and I feel like he came in seamlessly. So I'm not actually trying to disrespect Ruben Dias, who I think's been outstanding. But I just feel like Phil Foden, I've seen him come on and score so many clutch goals and breakthrough goals this year. I don't even know off the top of my head how many goals the kid's actually scored, and I'm sure it's quite a bit. But I've just been so impressed with Phil Foden. I just feel like he would be my pick. If I was picking somebody to be young player of the year, he's the individual that I would pick. It's 13 goals this season for club and country. But in Premier League, 6 goals, 5 assists. But it's the level of performances that he's put in as well. The way I've seen him come on in so many games and just transform City and take them forward and whatnot. That's where I would have put him.
And also, it's the minutes as well. When you look at his minutes, it's not like he's playing. He's got 20 appearances plus, but it's not he's playing 90 minutes or 20 minutes. He's playing 30, 40s around. And when he comes on, he looks so good.
But do you know what? Super chats came in earlier and said it, but I'll put Dias into there for now and put Foden into class because a few of the commenters and a few of the people watching have kind of changed my mind a little bit. And maybe it's just, you know what it is sometimes with attacking players, they do things that excite you a bit more, so it stands out in your mind. Dias has been brilliant as well. Final player pick goes to you, David. It's James Justin. Where would you put him?
I'll put him in class season. Thought he's come in and replaced Ben Chilwell and maybe even done a better job than Ben Chilwell, according to most Leicester fans. It's a shame about the ACL because I reckon he could have made England squad. But yeah, he's a very good defender. Another player who Leicester have scouted really well from the Championship from Luton, and he again just looks very solid in that back line, especially with all the injuries as well. Can play in a back three, can play in a full back. Yeah.
I agree, and I think that's a fairly fair list, really, in terms of the barring Curtis Jones. Or we're going to do our trump cards a little bit later. Kevin here says Rashford star baller. Kev, we can't move him. I know you've already put 5 in for someone. It takes 5 to move someone up or down at all, bruv. So anyone else puts up to £3, then we can move Rashford up one level. But I wanted to ask you guys who. They don't necessarily need to be on this list. What youngsters have disappointed you this year? Did you expected to see more from, whether new signings or existing players in the league?
Oof, I've got to think of that. Don't want to say my players. I
mean, it could be your player. I mean,
again, Havertz. Obviously, Havertz hasn't been, as everyone thought he'd come in and be straight on it straight away. He hasn't been fantastic, but since Tuchel's come in, I think he's been very good. Very good. I think Ferran Torres had a really overrated start to the season. I didn't think he was as good as everyone was talking about. I mean, again, when you go into that City team, you should be scoring goals. And I don't even think his record is that good. I really don't. From what I can remember, I don't. And the thing is, he doesn't even really play anymore. He's just. Yeah, he's played 17 games for him, 900 minutes. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. I don't think he set the world on fire. But everyone was talking about him like he's some next baller. And I was like,
he was an interesting one. In terms of, I've been disappointed that we haven't seen more of him. It's just like he had that little bit. I'm disappointed that Lamptey, I know Lamptey got injured, but a lot of people saying he should be on this list. He's only played 11 games this season, and a lot of that has been due to injury. So I'm excited to see what more is going to come from him. There's no doubt. I mean, obviously, I've been disappointed with Greenwood this season, and there have been underlying factors. His friend passing, nonsense with the media, Ollie's system, and everything else. But I want to see more from him moving forward. I don't know how many goals in all comps he has this year. I want to say 4 or 5. Maybe it's a couple more than that. But I want to see more from him going forward next year. And the thing is, he's still only 19. He's got a great opportunity to. He's 5 goals this year. When you consider last year in 49 games, he got 17 goals. To only have 5 this season is a disappointment, And he's never really got going and got ahead of himself. And I don't know how many more games you'll get this season. Maybe you'll get another 10 games in terms of total minutes. Maybe you can turn that into a 10-goal season. But I did really want to see him push on from them 17 goals and maybe come in this season 18, 19, 20 goals, reaffirm himself. But it didn't really happen. How about yourself, Prime? Is there anyone any youngster out there that you just expected a little bit more from?
Yeah, well, like I said, Saka. I think Curtis Jones for Liverpool. They played in the Community Shield, and I think he came off the bench, and the last 10, 15 minutes he made an impact, and that impact gassed him up.
Is your microphone rubbing on your shirt?
I think, yeah. Sorry.
Yes, I knew there was a noise.
Sorry. Yeah, in the Super Cup, Super Cup Community Shield, he came on, I think, last 10, 15, and he made an impact on the game, and that gassed him up amongst Liverpool fans. And this talk of he's up there with Grealish and Maddison and Foden, and he's going to be amazing, and he's going to be leading for England, and he just hasn't had the impact that he was spoken and touted to be. Greenwood has, again, fallen off, but that might be understandable. There's not really... Martinelli hasn't played as much and had an impact. And again, that might be due to injuries as well, or just the manager not wanting to play him for whatever reason might be. Callum Hudson-Odoi, in my estimation of things, if he was on this list, I would just put him in good season. There are some Chelsea fans think he's had a class season. I don't agree with that. He's had good moments, but nothing I would rave about, not yet anyway.
I mean, also when you talk about drop off, I think Trent's had a really bad one. Like, obviously, when you put numbers to that level, like obviously there's always going to be a drop off, but especially with the whole team, I don't think anyone thought it was going to be that big a drop.
Well, that's the same thing with Mason, isn't it? Because Mason scored as an 17 going on 18-year-old last season. He got 17 goals. Only being on 5 this year is looked at as like an absolute disgrace. But as you say, Phil Foden's on like a shortlist and he's in the top 5 on most of the websites I went on. And he's got, it isn't like he scored 30 odd goals. There are, Greenwood this season has had a slightly below par year for a young striker, but you notice it more because last season was so amazing, where Trent had 2 or 3 years where he was performing at an absolutely colossal level, and because it's dropped off, you kind of notice it more. But you'll still probably find he's somewhere on par with most fullbacks in the country, barring maybe 1 or 2 of the top performers. So I do kind of get that point. But what Trent did was abnormal. To go those 3 years as a teenager and a young man in his early 20s to perform at such a consistent level for 2.5, 3 years like he did was abnormal. Most youngsters, especially in defensive roles, have those lapses, have those sort of up and down times of consistency. They've only really been in my lifetime 3 or 4 players that I can remember. Rooney was one of them. Mbappe and Haaland are doing it now. And you may be able to throw Messi into that mix, but I don't quite remember. Where at 17, 18, they were just performing consistently and brilliantly. Jadon Sancho, you could throw into that mix with only small little spells here and there of like downturn. Most young players are up and down. And I wouldn't be surprised next year, when we start looking at this list now and the people that are on this, take out the guys that are nearing their mid-20s, the Diaz's and the Rashfords. I wouldn't be surprised next year if you saw Phil Foden have a slightly worse year. If in 3 years' time Justin was playing back in the Championship, there's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised if Fofana has like an average year next year, because it's so up and down for players. Does that make sense? Especially the youngsters, the ones that are 18, 19, 20, it can change so dramatically. Van de Beek, how old is Van de Beek? Is he 24?
I think he's 20. I think he might be 23. I want to say.
Is he really? See, it's interesting because whenever I look at young players, I actually think they should change it. Yeah, he's 23 and he's going to turn 24 this year. So officially, he was up for this award. I think what's interesting about that is I didn't realize that Diaz and Rashford would be eligible. I thought it was 22 years and under for Young Player of the Year. I do think they should change it. I do think there's an irony in that, though, isn't there? that we people like look at a 23-year-old and go, you should be balling, but the official footballing bodies consider you a young player until you're 25.
Yeah.
Unless you start, I think if you start the season at 24 years old, you qualify, or is it if you end it at 24?
I think if you end, I think you have to start the season under the age of 20, 23 and however many days in the year.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, I suppose so if you take away that, yeah, I mean, I would make it younger. To be fair, I would make it. You've got to be under the age of 22 by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So you're really looking at the youngsters in terms of that. If we looked at it like that, and if you took out Dias from that list for a minute, like if ignore he's there, who would, and you look at players that are under 22, who would be your star? 22 or under, who'd be your star?
For me, give it Phil Foden. I'm really impressed by Phil. I see the level, the ceiling that he can get to, and I think it's very, very high compared to the rest of these footballers. I think again, Mason, Declan Rice could become very, very good footballers, but I think Phil Foden's got that. I could be one of the top 5, top 10 players in the world, top 2 in my position, top 3 in my position.
I look at Phil Foden and he's been around for 2-3 years. I've kind of disrespected him a little bit because he hasn't been playing as much, and I didn't see the hype other fans saw. I just assumed it was just the usual media bias coming from him. But the growth and the way he's blossomed and the way Guardiola has actually nurtured him has been amazing. And I think that people should look at that as how to approach young players with. It's not just about throwing them in like you do with Saka or Mason Mount, and you just play them and they end up burning out a bit and having dips in their season. Where someone like Foden, I don't think he'll have a massive drop-off next season or the next few seasons because of the way Guardiola will nurture and develop him.
But I think what's interesting as well, though, when you look at these youngsters, is which of these youngsters are in an environment that is conducive for success to grow. And I feel Chelsea are moving into that space. So Mason Mount, as long as you perform, you'll come good. Phil Foden is in the most secure location for a highly talented player with Manchester City. You've got all the Leicester boys. They're in a club and in a situation where they're going to be protected. When I look at Tottenham, when I look at Man United, when I look at Arsenal, I worry for all the young players coming through. The chopping and changing of managers, the chopping and changing of systems, opportunities, etc.
And also the fan expectation.
Yeah, coupled with fan expectation is huge as well. And if I look at the Arsenal boys as an example, like Emil Smith-Rowe, I think is very talented. We didn't get a chance to do our trump card. It's hard for me. The two players I want to move up with my trump card are Emil Smith-Rowe and Curtis Jones. I'm going to do Curtis Jones, and I'm going to move him into good seasons. I think he has had a good year. But I look at someone like I do look at Smith-Rowe, and I think to myself, and Saka, if in 18 months' time Arsenal are not in a proper upwards trajectory, they've got to leave. By the way, if Man United are not in a proper upwards trajectory inside the next 18 months, Rashford and Greenwood have got to go. They've got to look to leave because they're too talented to rot at a club that isn't progressing. We've got some super chats here. The first one says, I think it's harsh to call Smith-Rowe overrated. I'd put him in good season in terms of Saka. If Mount is great for his age, I think Saka should deserve to be in top class. Most expensive young player. Well, do you know what? You put the 10 in, bro. So what we'll do is we'll move Saka into the top class bracket. We'll move Smith-Rowe up to good season as per your super chat. So thank you very much for that.
That takes away my trump card.
Okay, we can use another one. We've got another super chat that says Rashford has 18 goal contributions. No one on that list has more. He deserves to be higher. I mean, you've moved him higher into class season. This was based only on the Premier League. But yes, overall, Rashford, he has 18 goals, and I want to say 5 or 6 assists. I don't think anybody on this list has contributed more goals than Marcus Rashford has done this season either. But that's what's interesting about Rashford. When I look at Marcus Rashford, thank you for the super chats, people. I sort of look at a player and think to myself, can you imagine him playing for a Klopp or playing for a Pep, or and playing at a club that truly wants to win, that's investing in the right kind of players and whatnot? For me, it's starting to bother me. I know how good he is. Every time you hear pros speak about football players, Baresi saying that he's an extraordinary player. That's Baresi saying that. We've just got I've got a hope as a Man United fan that we improve as a club, because that boy's got to leave if we don't. And now, in the same way I'm telling Harry Kane to leave Tottenham, I have the same energy for my own players. If we're not improving, these players are far too good to sit at Man United, who are just happy to qualify for a Champions League. Who would your trump card go to, mate?
Well, I was going to put Smith Rowe to trash bowler because I really don't think he's that good. Can't do that. Pedro Neto.
Yep.
Again, I'll put him to a good season. He's talented, but he's talented and he's tricky, but his numbers don't really back it up. And maybe this is because this is the first real breakout season from him. So I need to see a bit more. But yeah, I think he's good. People should just relax on him. I see some people I know saying he's better than Rashford. No, not yet anyway. So.
Your microphone, bro. He's a better dribbler than Marcus Rashford, I think, but he's not a better overall footballer at all. I would like Neves at United. Yes. I think Neves would be excellent for Manchester United. There's no doubt. I feel like Ruben Neves has also gone a little bit stout at Wolves. I think he may need to move a little bit like Jota. Look at the difference at Jota from moving from Wolves. I also think Neto would be helped if he went to a bigger club, because he creates a lot of openings. But who's he crossing? Who's he moving the ball into this year? Ever since Jimenez has been injured, the lack of goal threat from the attackers has been absolutely massive. A few people here saying, why are you praising Phil Foden's 6 goals and saying Saka's 5 is not very good? Well, one's a midfielder and the other one's an inside forward. So there's a higher expectation. So for the midfielder, someone said to me the other day, like, everyone's raving about Bruno's goal tally, but look at, he hasn't outdone Harry Kane. I'm like, bruv, Bruno isn't a striker. He's a midfielder. If a midfielder gets 5 goals and an one of the inside forwards gets 6 goals, the 5 goals from a midfielder is better than 6 goals from an inside forward. If we're just looking at goal tallies, in my opinion, the same as, when Frank Lampard was scoring 15 goals as a midfielder, that's as impressive as a striker getting 25 goals. It has to be, because they're not designed to get as many. Mason Mount, star baller, #3. What does it say? I can't read that. 3 what?
3 Ginas? 3 originals?
I don't get it.
I don't know.
Is that meant to be a word that's meant to sound rude? I don't know. Oh, no, it's not. I don't...
I'm not going to try.
I don't know. It's words like that hurt my dyslexic brain. It costs £5 to move someone up or down, bro. So you're going to have to top that up if you want to move them up or down at all. Maybe I'm not reading that properly. Where is Eze? I think Eze's, again, has he had a groundbreaking year? Has he been performing at the same level with some of these players? I don't think he's been as good as Raphinha this year. I don't think he's been as good as Curtis Jones this year. I don't think he's been as good as Harvey Barnes. I don't think he's been as good as... I'm just looking at attackers here. He hasn't performed like Smith Rowe or Saka. He's done okay, but I wouldn't put him into the top list on this.
I think it's kind of like Pedro Neto, because there's a lack of a quality striker, and they don't play for a bigger club or better attacking football. So it's like they're doing it all on their own. So it's kind of hard to judge.
No, I understand that, and I get it. But when, like, Lamptey, until he got injured, was performing. Like, if Lamptey hadn't got injured and had carried on performing at that level, he's at a team in a relegation fight, but he'd have been on this list still. Last year, Campbell would have been on this list, but he was a bang average club. So for me, you can still do it even if you're lower down the pecking order. He's got 3 goals this year, which ain't bad. I suppose so. He's created quite a few chances, Eze. He's created 30 chances this year, which isn't bad. So maybe he should be on the list. Maybe. What are people's thoughts? Should Eze be on the list? If you want Eze on the list, maybe we can add him to this. 30 chances created this year, 3 goals scored. But then we're comparing it to, say, like Harvey Barnes, who's got 9 goals. Having said that, he's got more assists and only 2 less goals than Saka this year. So in terms of output performance, in a lesser team. So should we add Eze? That's a fair point. I mean, I haven't really watched too many performances where he's that I've watched. I mean, maybe I've watched Palace 5 or 6 times this year, and I've never watched it going, wow, look at him in terms of overall performance. But I don't watch all their games, so I am more than willing to be told that he's been better. So if you want him added to the list, let me know. I'll tell you what we'll do. The first super chat that comes in saying yes or no, if you super chat yes, we'll put Eze in and we'll take Saka out. That sees how much you want him in there. Super chat here says 18 goal contribution from Rashford was just the Prem. Rashford has 30 in all comps. Oh, what goal contributions? Fair enough. What, do you want me to move him up higher then? Let me know. I'm only joking about taking Saka. Everyone's so sensitive, aren't they?
I think if you're take Smith Rowe off. I've seen a few Arsenal fans. People are saying he's a baller and Eze is better than Smith Rowe, coming from an Arsenal fan.
All right, then that's what I'll do. That then I will do that. I will do that if people want me to, because I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy.
Also, Madison, he doesn't make the cut.
Madison, no.
Hmm.
I just didn't put him in because he's been out injured for quite a while now. Maybe he should be, but he's not on the list. That's it. He's not on the list. You put one of them on the list, I can add him to the list. Otherwise, everyone will be on there. It takes forever to do it. But there we go. Everyone's saying no. I'm not swapping him for Saka. Why so many football fans oh no, don't do that. I'm just going to add him to the list and then we can place him. Calm your brains down a little bit. Calm the brains down a little. Everyone's so sensitive. It's a bit of a bubble. It's a bit of a laugh. Calm it. Gee, I'm going to add the man now, you know. I'm going to add him now. Good shout. Sometimes I like people share me new stuff. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I'll do that. Right. Let's
Mount in for Odegaard. People are talking about Odegaard. Mount for Odegaard. So Odegaard. People are saying Odegaard should be added to this list.
No, not been here long enough. I haven't played enough games. I'm going to put Eze into good season. So we've added him to that list now. There he is on the list, people. You've got your wish. Don't say don't say there's no what's the word I'm looking for? Democracy here. There we go. Conor Gallagher. No.
Yeah, Gallagher's been on loan at West Brom from Chelsea. He hasn't been that. He's been okay, but nothing to write about.
There we go. This guy has a Smith Rowe agenda. I think they're talking about you, Prime.
I just don't. He's nothing special. I mean, a lot of the performances Arsenal fans talk about is because of the Europa League, and you're playing against Dundalk, so it doesn't really count.
Terry, where's Jota and Nate Phillips? Both 23 start of the season. Jota spent too much of the season out for me. Nate Phillips, absolutely not in a month of Sundays. Another super chat here. You're still not quite up. You're still like £2.50 short, bruv. If you want to move Mason Mount to star baller, still £2.50 short on that one, my guy. We've got 5 minutes of the show left, people. So if you want to make any changes to the tiered team, as you can see it, get your super chats in now and get that done. What's next season when Diaz is dog breath? You never know. This is the interesting thing I love about like these kind of. Who knows? I'm not saying it will happen. I think he's been really, really good. Oh wow! Look at this, Thomas Tuchel's come in right at the last minute. Tuchel FC has come in and said Mason Mount. He's the star baller. Boom. So that's going to cost £20 to take Mason Mount out of that category now. That's been done. That's been dusted. That's been put to bed. Chelsea fans stepping up at the death stepping up at the death to have their say. Odegaard overrated. I'm an Arsenal fan. That's what Will has said. That Odegaard is overrated. That's a huge claim. That is a huge, huge claim. Listen, I don't think Odegaard's overrated. I do think people need... Oh, hang on a minute here. Basuma and White could be in my opinion. We're only where we are because of a lack of proper striker. White is underrated because he hasn't got a fancy name. Do you know what, Ryan Moss? You do a lot of super chatting for the Football Terrace. So I'm going to add Basuma to the list. Basuma is now going to be added to the official list. We're going to get him on and added as well. And we'll put him into good baller as well. Thank you for that super chat. We'll get that done now. I'm going to say something then, though. I forgot what I was going to say before my brain got switched off. Nobody would have guessed a year ago that John Stones was as good as he's been this season.
Yeah, so, it's funny what happens when you bring in a leader of a centre back instead of Laporte. But it is what it is.
Yeah, well, but I don't even know if I don't even know if it is as deep as that. Sometimes it's just a case of you just bring in a better partner for that player. Sometimes it's just about who you're working with. Do our players getting on? As an example, do they click? Is there a proper connection between the two of them? That's now been updated. Basuma is now in there and on the list. There is 3 minutes to go if you want to change this tier grading system in any way, in any shape or any form. You guys have added Eze. You guys have added Basuma to this list as well. A big super chat from Tuchel FC put Mason Mount as a star baller. We place Ruben Diaz as the star baller. Are there going to be any changes before the end of this stream? Put Lingard on the list. Yeah, Lingard's still 21 to some people. Mount is dog. He's not dog though, is he? Come on. But what will be interesting is and why I enjoy doing these streams now is I'm looking forward to maybe 3 or 4 years time coming back and looking at these and seeing where all these young players are now, to see what they're up to. Did some of these guys just have these flash in the pan season? Do Neto or Eze or Basuma go to bigger clubs and flop? Like, I'm so excited to see what happens with some of these youngsters. Odegaard is overrated. It's the second time Odegaard is overrated.
Nah, he's not overrated. Odegaard is a baller. He's not overrated.
I think with Odegaard, Arsenal fans have got to slow down a little bit in the sense of he started well, but some of them are chatting like he is... Like one of them the other day, I did see a tweet where Guna said Odegaard's impact is similar to that of Bruno's at Man United. I saw a tweet similar to those, and I just thought, see, that's where you let yourself. That's a bit like why I put Calvert-Lewin in overrated, because it was like you've overshot how good his season's been. It's good, but now you're taking the piss, bro.
To be fair, that's what they wanted. They were saying that they needed a Bruno Fernandes-esque player to shoot up the table like Man United did last season. So that's what they want. This maybe not Bruno Fernandes in terms of what he actually does, but this like talismanic, holy grail, Jesus type figure to come in and save them.
Jesus type. We've got 1 minute to go, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to be the end of the show. So make sure you get your super chats in now, or forever hold your peace. They are comparing him to KDB. Yeah, that's just crazy. Typical Arsenal fans, why they are in 10th is the comment there. Terry, if FSG watched this show, they would pay 99p for 1.99 for Jones. Probably. Probably.
Some fans comparing him to Prime Ozil. Oh wow. No.
He's had a good start, but that's about it. Mount is the golden boy, no doubt, is what Baz One has got to say. Rashford is so disrespected, it's a joke. Yeah, listen, remember, I placed him in good because I think he's had a good season in the Premier League. Overall, if this was overall in all competitions, I would have put Marcus Rashford into I would have put Rashford into top class this year. So 18 goals is brilliant from an inside forward. Odegaard plays too safe, bruv. Will is literally on Odegaard's neck today. But that is the end. That is the end of the tiering system now. So thank you, everybody that contributed. We're back tomorrow where we're going to be doing the player of the season so far. So keep an eye out for that stream. Later on this week, we're covering many other subjects as well. We're looking at the greatest ever Premier League team. We're going to be reviewing and looking at the greatest ever Champions League team from the Premier League to the 99 United team, the great Istanbul Liverpool team, the great Champions League winning Chelsea team. We will throw others into that as well, because maybe some people think Arsenal not winning it still had a better team than maybe Chelsea's winners. Someone might think that. There is an element of logic to that, if that makes sense, because if you look at like Man United's 2008 Champions League winning team, that for me is better than Porto's Champions League winning team.
Are you talking about the final itself?
No, we're talking about the best team. We're going to tier the teams that have played in the Champions League. So the 99 Man United team, the 2012 Chelsea, we're going to be tiering them. We're also going to be tiering a few other positional plays as well. So we've got loads coming up in the next couple of weeks with no games being on. Listen, until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very